Zoo for You, March 8, 2023, Salt Lake City, Utah, USA. A male lion posed on a rock outcropping, shook his mane, and roared. The bone-rattling sound echoed off the walls of the exhibit. An instinctive terror shot through zoo visitors. No matter how far away they stood, they took an unconscious step or two backward. The only onlooker who did not seem afraid was 6-year-old Riker Stott. Bundled up in a coat and mittens, Riker kept his eyes on the lion without flinching. His grandpa leaned down to him and said, "Pretty loud, huh?" "Not as loud as a whale underwater," Riker replied matter-of-factly. "Is that right? Your mom told me you know a lot about animals. What's your favorite?" "I like a lot of them." "How about lions?" "I like lions, but those ones aren't real." Riker kept his eyes on the family of lions in the enclosure in front of him. His grandpa chuckled. "They look real to me." "No, they're only robots covered in hair." Riker's mother, grandma, and little sister were looking on nearby and were close enough to hear the conversation. Grandpa gave Riker's mom a questioning look. She smiled in return and shrugged her shoulders. "Riker, why do you think they're robots?" Grandpa asked with a serious voice. "Real animals would be afraid of us," Riker instantly replied. "Those animals don't look afraid. They're moving around like they don't know we're here." "Who told you that?" "Nobody. I figured it out." As the family moved toward the next exhibit, Grandpa waited until Riker was out of hearing range. Then he asked his mother, "Where did he come up with that robot idea?" "He watches a lot of nature videos. He must have heard something about animals avoiding humans and playing dead when people are around. He's a thinker. He put 2 and 2 together." "Don't you think it's a little strange for him to believe in something like that?" "I think it's cute. All 6-year-olds have weird ideas. I just play along." When the family stopped to look at orangutans and monkeys, Grandpa asked Riker if those animals were also robots. "Yes, you can tell by the way they jump," Riker answered. "If you want to see real animals, we can go to the real zoo close to our house." "He's talking about the Bean Museum," Riker's mother interjected after hearing Riker's answer. "We go there a lot." "They don't have any robots. All their animals are real," Riker insisted. After 2 hours of walking in the chilly weather, Riker complained that his feet were tired. His mom offered to let him ride in the stroller while one of the adults carried his sister, but Riker thought he was too big for a stroller. "It's probably time we headed home. I think that's about all of the zoo these kids can handle," Riker's mom announced. The family took the shortest route to the exit and loaded into their car. Riker's mom did the driving with Grandpa in the front passenger seat. Grandma and the 2 kids sat in the back. "We should be home in about 45 minutes, Riker's mom said. "I had fun. I like that zoo," Grandpa said. "We'll have to think of something else fun to do tomorrow," Riker's mom replied. "You don't have to entertain us. We're happy to join in your regular routine," Grandpa said. "He's right," Grandma called from the back seat. "We don't want our coming to stay with you for a week to feel more like a month. I wish you'd pretend we weren't around and go about your everyday business." "Not to say we don't appreciate it, but no need to go so far out of your way for us," Grandpa added. "It's not a big deal," Riker's mom said with a wave of her hand. "It's nice to get out of the house." Riker had been listening carefully next to Grandma. He waited for the perfect opening before asking, "What are we doing tomorrow, Mom?" "Well, you have kindergarten in the morning," his mom replied. "I mean after that." "I don't know yet. That's kind of what I'm talking about with your grandpa and grandma." "Let's go to the real zoo." "He's talking about the Bean Museum again," Riker's mom explained to his grandparents. 2 zoos in 2 days? That seems like a lot of trouble for you," Riker's grandpa said to his mom. She chuckled in reply. "The Bean Museum is free and very close to our house. Not a lot of trouble at all. And it's inside, so we don't have to worry about getting cold." "I'm up for going if you really don't mind," Grandpa said. "Then we'll go tomorrow after kindergarten," Riker's mom concluded. Riker cheered from the back seat. Further details about the upcoming Bean Museum trip were ignored when Riker's mom turned on some silly songs to enjoy for the rest of the car ride. Then came the chaos of dinner preparation, followed by a bedtime routine. Riker's mom did not get a chance to explain more about the Bean Museum until she and his grandparents were on their way to retrieve Riker from kindergarten the next day. So it's all in one building. They have lots of displays of stuffed animals in their natural habitat. Oh, you mean stuffed animals like taxidermy specimens? Grandpa said. Riker's mom chuckled. Yes, they were once alive, but now they're just skins covering a shell. It's not like a bunch of toy stuffed animals, although I could see Riker liking a room full of teddy bears if they had one. Where did this place get their animals? Grandpa asked. I don't pay close attention. For me, it's simply a nice place to walk around when the weather's bad. From Riker's school, the family drove directly to the Bean Museum. Riker was eager to show his grandparents around the 3-story building. They walked into the tall lobby, and Riker led his grandpa to a display of African animals. The display included a family of lions stalking wildebeests and gazelles in the grasslands of a savanna. They moved since the last time we were here, Riker said, pointing at the lions. Look, Mom, the last time the lions were farther away. Uh-huh, I see, Riker's mom replied absent-mindedly. They can see us, Riker said to his grandpa. That's why they aren't moving now. Is that right? Grandpa replied. That's how you know these lions aren't robots. They're scared of us, but they move when people aren't around. Grandpa turned toward Riker's mom with a skeptical, puzzled look. She smiled and said, It makes sense. The wild animals in the videos Riker watches freeze whenever they sense danger. I like how close we can get to them, Riker added. He stood against the rope separating the exhibit from the walking path. The closest lions were only a few feet away. Now let's go look at the moose, Riker cried excitedly. Riker led the family around a tour of the exhibits, which highlighted animals from different parts of the world. In the North American display, Riker pointed out how you could see more than 25 animals without walking very far. While Grandpa nodded in appreciation, he still wore the same disturbed look he put on when Riker talked about the lions. The tour finished in a play area designed for small kids. Riker and his sister ran through a plastic treehouse and called for their mom to watch every time they slid down the spiral slide. The adults looked on from a conveniently located bench. They would probably do that the rest of the day if we let them, Riker's mom said as her kids climbed up the slide's ladder. Fun place to be when you're that age, Grandpa said. But I'm a little worried about Riker's perception of reality. How he thinks the animals in here are alive and the ones at the zoo are robots. Riker's mom laughed. I think it's cute how he's using his imagination. Using your imagination is fine, but you don't want him to have a skewed version of the world. There's a difference between facts and make-believe. He needs to know that. I wouldn't worry about it, Riker's mom replied. He's only 6. All 6-year-olds have their unique way of seeing the world. They grow out of it. No need to rush him. Despite his mom's nonchalant attitude, Riker's grandpa did worry. What would happen if Riker spent his whole life with his head in the clouds? He would stay blissfully ignorant of the real world because no one was brave enough to point out that some of his ideas were wrong. If his mother was too afraid to do it, maybe this was the job for a grandpa. The next day, when Riker got home from kindergarten, Grandpa suggested they spend some time together. Just the two of them. Maybe we'll get some ice cream or visit that zoo you like. Riker was happy to go along with Grandpa's plan. They stopped at the Bean Museum first and walked straight to the African display. The lions were still frozen in position. Riker crept right up to the divider rope and watched intensely, like he was daring them to blink or flinch. You know, Riker, I think it's great how you're so interested in animals, his grandpa said. Riker nodded without making a sound. I was also thinking that grandpas are important for teaching kids about the world. So I need to tell you something really important. Are you listening?" Riker turned his attention from the lions and looked up at his grandpa. "The animals in here aren't alive. They're just skins from dead animals. They don't move because they can't. It's not because they're scared." Riker turned his head to check whether anyone was standing nearby. Then he motioned with his finger for Grandpa to lean close to him. When Grandpa lowered his head, Riker whispered in a relieved voice, "I know, but you can't tell Mom. She thinks they're alive." A crooked smile curled up Grandpa's mouth. "Oh, she does?" "Yes. I told her about how real animals get scared with people around. She believed me." "But why did you tell her that if you know they're not real?" "I like coming here. So does she. But I don't think she'll come back if she knows the animals are dead. That other zoo is a long way away and it costs money. I want to keep coming to this one." Grandpa nodded appreciatively. "I see. Well, I'm glad we had this talk. You're not going to tell Mom, are you?" Grandpa did not answer right away. Riker's question was more complicated than his 6-year-old mind probably intended. His mom already knew about the stuffed animals, but should she know that Riker was pulling a long ruse over on her? Grandpa finally decided he was not hurting anyone by keeping Riker's secret. He would let Riker's mom find out naturally. No need to rush things. "I'll let you tell her when you think she's ready," Grandpa said to Riker. "Do you want to look at more animals, or should we go right to the slide?" Riker asked. "I guess we can go right to the slide." "And then we'll get ice cream. That's what you said before we left." Grandpa chuckled. "Yes, I remember. Riker, now I realize you have a better grasp of reality than a lot of adults I know."